generosity encompassed his willingness to help you whenever asked, no matter what, no reservations. Financially, he donated many thousands to charity. He did this quietly. He didn't tell others about it. There was no bragging. There was no openness about what he was doing. I was probably the only person that knew that this was transpiring. He did it throughout his life, even when his personal financial times were very tough. God tells us that helping others is something we should do. And he also tells us to do this, how my son did so, quietly. A child should never precede his or her father in death. It may be the most devastating thing that can occur to a parent. It is absolutely the most devastating moment in my life. I will never recover from this. It will be painful for me each and every day until my own passing. My grief is unbearable. I shed tears every day because I miss him so very much. But I'm grateful to God that I have a wonderful daughter and a wonderful grandson to lean on and help me bear this pain. As I look out at you, I know that each and every one of you has suffered loss. You've lost people close to you. I know that actually several of you have lost a son. All of us have lost moms, dads, sisters, brothers, close friends. When a child precedes his or her parents in death, many people question God. They say, why did you let this happen? God. I do not ask this question. My faith in God is exactly like Ryan's faith in God. Deep, strong, unbridled. We can never understand why God makes such decisions. It is beyond our understanding. Both Ryan and I put our trust in God and do not ever doubt it. In my heart, I firmly believe Ryan sits at God's feet and is watching over us with love. He is at peace in heaven. And I look forward to joining him. We will rejoice together for eternity. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Good job, Bob. For those of you that have not met me, I'm Kavin Ray. I'm Lily's father, Kavin's grandfather, Ryan's father-in-law. I'm extremely honored that they asked me to participate today. My participation will be brief, but I will do my best to honor this man that we are here for today. Today we gather to really pay our respects and remember Ryan. Ryan was a father. He was a son. He was a husband. He was a brother. And he was a friend. All of us here are one or another or a part of that group, so we as a whole are a family. Our family. We're here today and mourning for him, and as Bob says, we sometimes ask why. We're sitting here, we're sad and we're hurt, and we wonder why these things happen. But the truth is, just like he already said, that we have no idea why, and it's not our business. When we read the book of Job, he asked why so many times. He found out later on that it was not his business. That God was in control and would be in control. I do know today, and we all know if we've read our Bible any at all, that it says that for everything there is a season. And some of those seasons are to be born, and there is a season to die. And this was Ryan's season. We don't know why, but it was. You know, we have no control over those seasons. And in his case, and in our simple minds, his season came too soon. The way we think as simple human beings. And it seems unfair to us. It does. It's reasonable to believe it to be, or feel it to be, unfair. Especially to family, especially to friends, but most especially to parents. It's not written in the Bible, but if you're a simple human being like ours, I mean, I'm 72 years old, and I'm at the last stages of my living on this earth, but we're not supposed to outlive our children. So I can comprehend Bob's pain. Okay, I can comprehend it. We never outlived them. It is a special pain. But you know, sometimes, like today, we do. And it can be hurtful. But amidst it all, we can be thankful that we do have hope. We have hope. And a loving God that today celebrates and laughs with Ryan Ritter. Because Ryan, is in a place, and you know, we all know that he had physical issues, and he suffered, and he hurt. But he's in a place where there is no more pain. There is no more sadness. There is only joy. A God like that is that because he loves us so much. And he loves us like that so that he is able to walk every step of life with us. When we laugh, he laughs. When we cry, he cries. And when we mourn like we do today, even though they celebrate, he mourns with us, the living, because he loves us so much. He loved us so much that he sent his son to die for us, that we may have the kind of life that allows us to be able to one day gather again and celebrate our lives together in new bodies, a new life, where there is nothing but joy. We'll gather in that place that we call heaven, but truly it's a place that we cannot comprehend. It's an unfathomable love that does this. And it's permanent. And it's eternal. Paul, in his writings, in his letter to the Romans, wrote that very thing. And I read here in the book of Romans, in verses 35 through 39, which happened to have been my father's favorite book, which I read to him in hospice every night. He said, "Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or sword? As it is written, for thy sake we are killed all day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. Nay, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus." And when that is a part of our lives, we understand that as a part of our lives. We can walk our lives with this in mind, which we all probably know by heart. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, and thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the memory of Ryan, for his life, what it means to us as a father and a son and a brother and as a friend. We come together here in sadness and in mourning, but we know he is with you in a place of joy, without pain, without suffering. Lord, in our time here this morning, I specifically ask your presence in our lives, and especially in the life of Bob's family, to grant them strength, and to grant them comfort, and to grant them peace. We're thankful to you that those memories of Ryan are emblazoned upon our hearts and can never go away, and that you allow that for us because you love us. Lord, be with us in the future. Be with Bob as he struggles with his loss, that he may be comforted. He may be comforted, and he can live on in the realization that he will one day be reunited with the son that he loves so. Lord, we ask for forgiveness of all our failures, and we ask you to help us to pray fervently and daily. These things we ask in the precious and holy name of Jesus. Amen.
Kleenex, check. Water, check. Speech. Make sure I have anything. I hope this doesn't sound sound too much like I'm reading a script, but I think I bit off more than I can chew when I wrote this, so might be long, bear with me, might not make it all the way through, we'll see. But, I want to say some things about my brother Ryan today, because I feel like there were many times when I had an opportunity to speak for Ryan, and I didn't. I think I was just shy and embarrassed and more than anything, I didn't want to let my brother down, say something awkward. But honestly, I think he would have found it endearing. Even if I bombed and fell flat on my face, he would have laughed and he would have loved it. It's like that. But there's some of that guilt for the times that I didn't say some of the things that I wish I had said. I think we all can share in that feeling and know that we wish we said more. But I'm confident that Ryan knows how much I love him. And there are things that we did talk about. There are a lot of things that we talked about and that I did say. I'm glad I had the chance to do that. But Ryan was different because he was really good at saying what he thought he should say. And he always spoke his mind and told you how he felt, sometimes whether you wanted to hear it or not. But he would say the things that you wanted to hear and make you feel good. And he would also say the things you didn't want to hear, but needed to hear. And sometimes he would say things that you did not need to hear at all. One time in particular, I was coming down the stairs when I was living in his house, townhouse, and I had on some camouflage pants, and I thought they looked pretty cool. And Ryan looked up at me from the couch, and he's like, "Are you gonna wear this tonight?" I'm like, "Obviously, bro, I'm already dressed, so yeah." And he's like, "Well, I could figure out if you're going to play poker or you're going hunting." I'm just like, you know what, I thought my butt looked good in these, so I'm gonna wear them. And it was funny, you know, those things would blurt out from him, but if he thought it made me feel bad, then the next day he would say, "You look so cute today. Did you get a haircut? Did you lose some weight?" Or he would say whatever he could to make up for it, because that guilt would just tear him apart. My mouth got me in trouble again. No, Ryan was. He was very forthcoming and spoke his mind, but he wasn't perfect. None of us are. And those little endearing moments are special. Those are the things that we remember and hold close to our hearts. I'm losing track, so let's see where I was here. Ryan wasn't just good at saying the things that he thought and talking about things. He was also good at doing things. Ryan was a force to be reckoned with. He was talented in so many ways. And he was one of those people that you just thought, God, does he suck in anything at all? Every sport he played, particularly baseball, he was so good at it. He excelled at it. When we were kids, he played soccer and basketball, and he played tennis for most of his life. He was very athletic, and he was really, really good at sports, very competitive. When he was young, we thought that he would go on to be a professional baseball player and play for the Helena Brewers. They were Braves, by the way. And he was that good. He was actually like a local celebrity for us back in the day, in middle school, high school, and college. I know for me, everywhere I went, I'm not kidding you, everywhere I went, if I said I'm Stephanie Ritter, someone would say, "Are you related to Ryan Ritter?" And I'm like, "Yes, I sure am." I was very proud of that. And they would say, "Well, I was just reading an article about him today in the Marietta Daily Journal. He was in that paper like once or twice a week, something like that. So much. He was a superstar." And I never really said it out loud, but I would think to myself sometimes, who's your brother? Is he a badass like mine? I bet he's not a superstar like my brother. Because he was to me. And I think some people might imagine that it was hard to be in someone's shadow, but it wasn't like that with Ryan. He had a light around him that shined so bright, it wasn't a shadow. He shared that light, especially with me, as much as he could. I was there for all those important moments of his life. A lot of you saw on Facebook when I posted the induction into the Hall of Fame at Wheeler High School. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I took some pictures and some video of that. I was so proud of him, and Ryan's not the type to brag to too many people, but he put that up, so I did, because I was really proud of him and honored to be in his life. So I didn't feel like I was in a shadow. I felt like I was under the wing of my own personal hero. And he was my hero. Still is. He took me under his wing and kept me there. Always. He was an amazing person, but for me personally, he was an amazing brother. And I miss him so much. But I feel like he's still looking out for me. He's still got me under his wing, and I'll always be there and hold him close. He also liked to have a lot of fun. Ryan, everything had to be fun, even if it was just a night hanging out inside, not doing anything. Get out the board games, or what movie are we going to watch? Let's do something other than just hanging out, not doing anything. He wanted everything to be a great time, and he wanted everyone to smile, right? He always wanted to see a smile on somebody's face. We went to events, he would always get that real expensive picture, like at medieval times with the princess, and people look at it later on like, who's that chick in the photo with you? And Ryan's like, somebody there, she's a prop, or something like that. I wanted that picture though. So we wanted to make good memories and really have a good time. And some of those times we're going out to the lake house, going on the boat, the lake house, and going to Six Flags, Stone Mountain. He would go on vacations, places I've never even been before, skiing, and he was great at wakeboarding and snowboarding, all those kinds of things. But you guys know Ryan, I don't have to tell you all that. But more than anything, he was so proud of his son, Kavin. He loves you more than anything in the world. He really does. And I'm going to miss seeing the two of you together. But we're still going to have some fun, and we'll honor him by taking some silly photographs once in a while and holding on to that, making more good memories. I have something that I'd like to give to you. Ryan, like my father said, he was a devoted Christian and a strong believer. And he bought a matching set of cross necklaces for him and his son, which I've been safekeeping this for you, but I'd like for you to have it. And I know your dad would like for you to have it. So if you want to come up here, I can give it to you now. Do you have anything that you would like to say today? Okay. He's going to let someone else go next. Thank you. I'll leave you Kleenex.
a choice. Ryan was such an enormous part of many of our lives that we didn't have a choice. And I can tell you this, my friend would be so happy right now. So happy that everybody was here celebrating him. And it's the very least that I can do, and I'm sure it's the very least that we all can do to celebrate somebody that was such an amazing figure. And Ryan played, obviously playing this over, he had such a profound impact on my life in specific. We had a very auspicious beginning. I was this bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, 17-year-old kid, overconfident beyond nobody knew. What does this kid so confident? I don't even know why I was so confident, to be honest with you. Rolling down the steps at Georgia Tech, not knowing how the hell I got there, to be honest with you. And I had been there this summer, and I met this kid named Brandon Wilson that was very Ritter-esque. Every girl wanted to be with him. So, larger than life, funny. So I said, I'm gonna hang out with this kid. Follow him around. And we ran through some of the fraternities, and we didn't know, I wasn't a fraternity guy, I wasn't gonna join a fraternity. I said, these guys are giving out free beer, free concerts, let's go run through here some of these places. So me and Brandon ran through a number of them and left waste behind us, and K and Pike and Sigma Chi. And it was a fall evening. We decided, hey, we'll go back out and see what's going on. And come barreling out of the steps of ATO, in his nature, he runs out.
Hey, we got some.
Hey, we're gonna go up here.
He's like, no. I think you guys are at the right place.
And here he is, this blonde-haired Adonis, and I'm like, how do I know this guy? So he brings me in, and look, the reality is Brandon was a good-looking guy, and I was following him around. I mean, he was honestly like the movie Twins, right? He was Schwarzenegger, and I was DeVito, just like following him around. And I didn't realize at the time, and I go in, and Ryan is on me, and he's on us both. He realizes it's a package deal, right? I'm thinking this, and he goes, my name's Ryan Ritter. And I was like, listen, when I moved to Georgia, and if you were in and around baseball or East Cobb, there were three names you knew at that time. And it was Shane McGill, it was Shane Monahan, and it was Ryan Ritter. And we knew their names. So I said, this is the guy. He's a stud baseball player. You ever heard of him? Brandon said, hey, I play football, I don't know who he is. So Ryan is on me, and he's pulling me in rooms. He's like, listen, you need to join this place. Okay. He's like, you into it? You like it? So you having a good time? Yeah, it's great. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And he's like, so what, you're in, right? If you're good, you like it. Like, me? I like you. Next thing you know, they're throwing me in the air and screaming. I'm like, I call my brother who had graduated Tech a few years before, and I said, I think I just got sold into I'm in a fraternity. And I said, what are you talking about? What happened? And I go, well, I don't know, I'm talking to this guy, Ryan, and he's, I guess, the Rush chairman, and he said, do you like us? And I said, yeah. And he said, you're in. And they run out and straight on. And he goes, yeah, man, you're in a fraternity. I don't know that I want to join a fraternity. But that was Ryan. He sold me. This was 27 years ago. And I've just thought of the impact that he's had on my life. The words that continually come up, loyalty. The man was blindly loyal. He was a planet. And if you were lucky enough to be in his gravitational pull, he pulled you in and you were it. And he took a liking to me. We had an extraordinarily competitive relationship for a long time. But I can tell he was grooming me to see, are you worthy? Are you worthy? so much to me. I look out at everybody that I know. I wouldn't know anybody in this room if it weren't for Brian Ritter. Nobody. I would have found different friends. I would have gone somewhere else that night, but I wouldn't have these lifelong friends that I have, and they were Brian's. Scotty will hate this, and he's heard the story and he hates it, but Scotty, it has to be told over and over and over again. 1994, I'm in the fraternity and I'm a pledge, and Ryan's belittling me, and you're just, look at you, you're so tiny. He comes in one day and he's looking at me and he's like, listen, I got a question. Can you play softball? No. I'm not asking if you can hit the ball. Can you play? Are you serviceable? And I was like, yeah, why? He's like, we're going to Athens. We've got to play, and I think it was Liz's sorority, and we went with Tyler, and there was we're going to play in a charity event, and it's an all-day thing. And I don't need losers, I need winners. I can play softball. I played it, whatever. He goes, you disappoint me, you're never in it. So we drive, we get up in the morning, because it was early in the morning, I think it was on a Saturday or something. We drive all the way to Athens, and we get out of the car, it's 8:30, we're stretching, okay? And we had an hour and a half drive. We're in the parking lot, we're stretching, and all I hear, like, sounds emanating behind. What's going on? And so I'm stretching next to Ryan, and I look back, and Scott is about 20 yards behind me on a curve. And I said to him, hey, I know this is like a charity event, but do they let special needs people? And Ryan's like, what are you talking about? I go, there's 3 times. I said, what's this guy? He goes, what are you talking about? That's Scotty. I don't know, Scotty, not special needs. What's going on? He's like, that is one of my best friends from grade school. What's wrong with you? I was like, I don't know, Scotty. But you're going to tell me that guy back there isn't special or something? He's like, no, he's drinking. I don't know. He says 8:30. Let me tell you, I love Scott. And you're going to love Scott. And that's who he was. He forced friends on me that I didn't even really know I wanted. Scotty was in my wedding. Scotty has been one of my closest friends since that moment. We didn't get to know each other for about another year in Crested Butte, but we tried to nurse Andy Keel back to health. He jumped a little bump and blew out his ACL. And Scotty said, we got to keep a friend, a company tonight. While Ryan and everybody went out downtown. And from that moment on, me and Scott have been inseparable. Fast forward to 97, and Ryan is valeting with, he's valeting with Joel and Steve, Milligan, and all these guys at Houston's. And he comes roaring through fraternity doors, and he says, dude, met this guy that you're going to love. Okay. He's like, no. We're going to hang out with him a lot. And I was like, okay, Ryan, whatever. He goes, dude, he came down. He's going to Georgia State. He's kind of an Ohio Hilljack. Okay. He's like, trust me, he's our kind of guy. I said, okay, Ryan, maybe we can organically go out or whatever. He goes, no. You don't understand. We're going now, and you're going to meet Banks. And I said, okay, Ryan. And fast forward, Ryan and I have been friends since 1997. That was who Ryan was. And everybody else in this room, when he started working, 2001, 2000, I got to know all the Conyers guys, right? And what was it? Hey, these dudes are kind of the guys. Okay? They might be, the lost children of Rockdale County. We're hanging with them, you're gonna love them. And who else? Eves, and Norris, and Emil, Fozzie. It was like that with me and him. he told me, it was like I was his little brother, you're gonna do what I say. And I'm a better person for it. I'm happier for it. I'm surrounded by people that enrich my life because of it. And I give all of the props to that man right there. Because I would be down another road, I wouldn't be with all of you. And I would be less of a person because of it. Everybody here knows how competitive Ryan was, but I don't think you quite understand how competitive Ryan was. This started in that same fraternity. One of the greatest things, and it speaks a little bit to me, which is sad, greatest things even to this day that I ever did was to Ryan Ritter. When I joined the fraternity as a freshman, they were all into video games, and we're gonna have competitions and so on and so forth. And at the time, this dates us a little bit, Kevin, this was a Sega Genesis, okay? And there was a game called Bill Walsh College Football. Now, what all of these fraternity brothers of mine didn't understand is that I got into tech for some reasons, but one of them was I was pretty ingenious at trying to figure out loopholes and things, and one of them was video games. So I figured that out, and nobody could beat me in this game. And Ryan came in one day, and I'd been playing Steve and Tyler and everybody, and they said, you can't do what you're doing. You have to stop that. We have to outlaw what you're doing. Because they dubbed the halfback Rothenback. Ryan didn't know. He's coming in from baseball practice, and he's like, yeah, let me play this little midget. So we loaded up. I destroyed him mercilessly. And I'm loving every second of it, because he did not like to lose. And it was the greatest accomplishment of my life, because I've never seen a grown man yank a Sega Genesis out of the wall in the middle of playing and hum it like a frisbee out the second story of the fraternity house. And then he turned to me and he said, you will tell no one. You understand? I will never allow you that in this fraternity. You tell one person, I said, and he was competitive with strangers. It didn't matter who it was. For 4 or 5 years after we got out of college, and it was just before you were born. Well, it even continued, unfortunately. Lindley wasn't really happy about it, but even when you were a toddler, we had a running weekend game. Myself, Petty, Marco, and Ryan would play golf every weekend. And we were at the lake or something, and you were just a little, you were a baby, which I'm sure Lynn was like, you're not going to play golf. So Ryan would be like, let's go at 6 in the morning. So I would have been 6 in the morning. We're out there, he's coming in, shot out of a cannon. And we had been hitting balls and so on and so forth. Ryan comes in and he's like dipping his mouth. I gotta warm up. I said, man, you don't have time to warm up. We gotta go. And he's like, I'll warm up and you just relax. So he goes, he's hitting balls, and the starter comes up, and Ryan's hitting rockets this way and this way. He's getting nervous and he's looking behind him. I'm looking at me for it. We need to be on the tee. And so the starter said, you might want to fix that swing before you go on number 1. And he goes, man, you gotta be up there in 1 minute. And Ryan says, listen to me. I came here to skin these 3 up, but I'm about to work you over old time. Why don't you come up on this tee box? And I was like, Ryan, what are you doing? He goes, no, I'm going to stroke this old man. I'm done with him. He's scaring me. He's messing up my hand. That's who he was and how he was. He was always competitive and always ready for a quip, for anything. He strived to try and make me laugh, and he did it in spades. He had an enormous heart. My wife, obviously when I met my wife and we got married a little bit later, she often would look at all my friends, like this guy, like Ryan. Wow, how are you did it. Can you keep up with these guys? And I was like, hey, I have no choice. I was drawn to them because of the enormity of their hearts, and that's it. That's how my family raised me, and that's why, and I will always be their friend, always. No matter what, thick and thin. That's who we are. Going through all this, obviously, these past couple of weeks, the thing that struck me the most is that Ryan was part of the biggest moments of my life. Every one of them. There was never a phone call that didn't get made. I had the opportunity, I did stand-up comedy for a number of years after school, and I did it to get all of our professional friends to come. Hey, we'll get together and go to the punchline. So I had the opportunity to open for Bill Burr one weekend, and Ryan Meady was like, he was one of my, he's my favorite comedian at the time, was one of my favorite comedians. And Ryan called me, you get tickets. So he comes, and I go up, and I'm on cloud 9, right? It was the most amazing show, and so on and so forth. And as soon as I come out, and I still have 4 shows left to do that weekend, Ryan's waiting on me in the back by the bar, and he's bowing as I'm coming back through, the seats while the other comedians are going on. He's, you amaze me. That was phenomenal. I mean, you are a golden god. And I was like, and I'm looking at him, I'm going, this is a guy that has amazed me since I met him my whole life. And he's giving me the props at that moment. He was never short on trying to let you know the accolades that you deserve. Though I could give accolades on him until the end of time. So, and that night was even more poignantly special because I met my wife that evening. After they forced me and convinced me to go out, I wasn't going to. And that God intervened and I met my wife. And it was an easy close because so many of my fraternity brothers had gone up to the show and they were, this guy is amazing. So it was pretty much a closed deal. My wife argued that. She said, well, why don't you make me laugh? Now, let me do that right here in the middle of the bar. But and shortly, a couple of weeks after that, and Ryan called me, he goes, hey, now you met that girl. Listen, I'm always here. We're going to close the deal for you. What are you talking about? He goes, you're coming up. Labor Day weekend. Lake House. General Lee. Wakeboards. Flipping. Showing off. It's done. Bring her. And I did. And he was right. And he helped. And it was what he did for friends. He would do anything, if you ever asked. And he rarely asked you for anything. Nicknames were a huge part of our life. Starting out in our fraternity days, I always felt that if you had the more nicknames, the better you were because people wanted to nickname you. I had a dozen dubbed by him. Initially it was Rob. Hey, let's Rob child. How old is he? When I came in, they let 14-year-olds in Georgia Tech. It was the Roth, then it was the Mouth, then it was, Rothstein, Rothberg, Rothcock. That was I used that a lot of times, I'm sorry, but it was because he thought I was so cocky, and I was like, how are you calling me cocky? He's the cockiest guy I knew, but he actually deserved to be cocky. I did, so that's where he went. And he had as many nicknames. He was Chip Ritter. He was Knight Ritter when he drove around that Trans Knight Ritter. I tried to call him Dushelhoff, but he was not the Chip Rittius Maximus. I mean, it just went on and on. And years ago, probably been 7, 8 years ago, he said, "Hey, Ron, you got my phone dropped in the lake. I lost a bunch of numbers. I need the Petty's number." So I share the contact. He calls me, he goes, "What's going on? I asked for Petty's number." I go, "And I gave you Petty's number." He said, "No, you shared a contact that says the calzone." I said, "Yeah, that's Petty." That's your nickname? What do you call the people? I go, "I got names for everybody I love in my phone." And so it became a thing that every time I saw him, he'd be like, "Hey, see your phone." Who's Baked Ziti? Obviously Scott was Scotch, right? And you would just scroll through it every time I saw him. "Hey, see your phone." Scroll. Mama Mia, Papa, that's my parents. Papa Rock, Mama Mia. There's not a person that I love that's not in my phone with a nickname. And he's going through it. "Who's that? Danger, run." I said, "Those are ex-girlfriends." And I just saw him week prior to his passing. He did the same thing. He's like, who's Nancy Pelosi?" I go, that's Nicole. "Did you call your night wife Nancy Pelosi?" I was like, "She's the Speaker of the House." What happened? So he loved to laugh, and he loved so many things. Music was first and foremost. Kavin, I'll pull up texts. He was so proud of you, of the musical taste that you had, and I'm like, "You gave it to him. My father gave it to me." I saw more concerts with your father than I've seen with anybody on the planet. And we went in 2019 to 311. We took Kavin and we took my nephew. And Kavin knew every word to everything. My nephew didn't know peace from a hole in the ground. And in the midpoint of it, Kavin's singing it, and I go, "You exposed," and he goes, "You're a failure." Look at Kavin. Look at him. He knows every. Amber is the color of my energy. Your nephew's over here blank staring like, "Hey, Ryan, he's my nephew. He's not my son. I didn't raise him. I don't have anything to do with what he likes in music. You're still a failure." But he would text us and say, "You guys don't understand. Kavin's got Pink Floyd posters, and Beatles, and it's amazing." Yes, it is. Keep that going. I will say this, and I'm a parent. There was not a time in 15 years that the first topic of conversation wasn't you. Not one phone call. Not one time we went to lunch. Not one time we played golf. There was always a conversation about Kavin. Every time. And then subsequently, when I had mine too, that followed. He knew the importance of that. He held on to that dearly. I saw him the week prior, we played golf. And we talked about you for 3 holes. I said, "Is he playing baseball?" "He didn't make the team, so he's done that. I want to play football. He's huge. He's bigger than you, bigger than me." He goes, "But he doesn't want to." He goes, "I hope he finds the joy in maybe sports that I did." He goes, "But you know what? He did something you and I could never do." And I was like, "What is it? Why am I always associated with that?" I can do my own stuff. Like, why am I? No. He did something you and I could never do. He became class president. Are you kidding me? And I was like, "You're right. I could have been class president, but I don't like the association." And so he talked to you. He talked about you ad nauseum. I can't tell you enough how much your father loved you. And by proxy, we love you. People that know me know that God has had a profound impact in my life. I had a very difficult, tragic, life-changing event happened to me a couple of years ago that has allowed me to continue to be with you guys. And I know that God has always been there at the most poignant times in my life. He's spoken to me. He has guided me. It was Nicole and I's 10-year anniversary, and we had planned to play golf, Marco and Brian and I was not supposed to go. I said, guys, I can't go because it's my anniversary. You know, he'd say, come on, you put it off. I don't know, I'm married to a half Puerto Rican, half Irish woman. That might not go over well. But luckily enough, God intervened. Cole and I couldn't get something scheduled until Sunday. So I showed up unannounced, and Marco and Ryan said, what do you do here? There was something that put me there a week prior to your father's death. And I know that it was God. And I know that he wanted me to share those moments to bring me solace. And I'm going to tell you that your father was very happy all day. And we shared an entire day, Marco, your father, and myself. And I was happy that he was happy and in great spirits. And I can take that with me to know that I spent those hours with him. But I'll say this, I want time back for a couple of reasons. Because I want to thank him for allowing me to be a part of his life. And I wish I'd have given, we all wish we could have said other things, but he changed my life for the better. And I'm such a lucky man for having been a part of your father's life. And I hope I would be a part of your life. Because I will tell these stories until the day I can't remember. So, if you come with me, we'll hang out with that nephew that doesn't know the music that you know. And you and I will share stories about your dad. Because I love him very, very much. Thanks, guys.
Great job, Brian. I think you broke the microphone. I don't care. You know, we'll get through these things. It's going to be very difficult, but we will move forward. Rob, my heart goes out to you. Fortunately, that was something my dad said. Death of my sister, it's the worst thing a parent could ever experience is to have a child go before theirs. And yeah, there's no, Ryan's here with us all, and will be forever. And Stephanie, your speech, remarkable. And your strength over the last couple of weeks when we've been going through this has been just, I can't tell you that you've been just a rock, and helped get this all together. Really, she brought this together, so people need to thank her. And yeah, Greg, yeah, Psalm 23. I know some of these things. And a lot of my speech has been reiterated, or what I want to express is, yeah, everybody in this room practically I recognize or know as through Ryan. And started in high school. We weren't the best of buddies until really, we were in the same crew but gradually I became better and better friends with Ryan over time. Eventually just roommates after college. And yeah, for longer than I care to really add up. And even Lindley was pretty much a roommate for a year probably while Ryan romanced her. And then I don't think they wanted me to go because she and I'd be cooking dinner and Ryan would come in and be delighted that dinner was ready. And so that happened, and they didn't want me to leave when they were wed, and I thought it was the right thing to do. So yeah, I still live in the same neighborhood, not far from it. Anyway, time moved on, yeah, and we stayed close, and I never really tried to compete with Ryan, but it's hard not to. And yeah, our sports, like, he's probably spent time on the golf course more at the beginning, and then, I mean, he pushed me there a little bit, and I knew a little bit more about wakeboarding, and he told me, straightforward, no, this is nothing like I expected him to say, but he said his favorite times were just floating around on the lake, but after a little while, we would start wakeboarding, and that would turn into competition, and we'd just kind of lay around, like on the boat, floating around listening to music. And Kavin, you're welcome to come up to my place and out that lake over there. I'll teach you more. And yeah, between ski trips up to Colorado and whatnot, and yeah, there's a lot of time that we spent together. But the biggest thing is that Ryan just made a difference. I think he made a difference to everyone that he came in contact with. And he made a difference he raised a remarkable child. And he just made me a better person in general. And I think we just have to think that we were able to know somebody as great as him. So, thank you all for coming.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all of y'all for being here. I didn't expect this many people at all. I could try and get my... No, not that. There we go. All right. Thank you, Papa, Scotty, Ryan. That was a pretty funny speech. I enjoyed that. And Kitty, Grandpa Ritter. Well, thank you all for being here today. I just have a few things I want to say. I don't want to take up much of y'all's time, but my father was pretty much my everything to me. He was more than just my father. He was my best friend and my hero. We did everything together. We loved to watch movies. We loved to hike beautiful Sunday mornings, or just have video game tournaments at home. My dad and I loved board games so much that we had a paper with how many times put Monopoly together. It was ridiculous. He had beaten me in Monopoly 46 times. And I had only beaten him 30 times, which is pretty embarrassing because every time he would win, he'd be like, "You want to go again?" And then we would keep going until we decided we were going to be bored of Monopoly. And somehow, I don't know how, it's probably cheating or rigging the dice, but I doubt it. He was just that competitive and he was that great. Anyway, the last thing that me and my dad did together was we went to Dave & Buster's. It was on a Sunday because I think the NFL was on. I was able to convince him. He just wanted to stay home and watch football, like he usually does. But I convinced him to go, and we had a lot of fun together. We sit down at those arcade machines, and we spend time there. And have a lot of fun like we used to. I'm so happy for everything that me and my dad got to do. I can't imagine what you're going through, Grandpa. I only knew my dad for 15 years. You knew him for a lot longer. Well, other than my dad doing everything with me and us doing everything that we did together, everyone here, I hope knew him or met him at least at one point, talked with him, got to know him, and I know my dad is listening to me here today. I'm going to miss you. I love you, and hopefully in years to come, probably not for a while, but I will be up there with you one day, as will lots of y'all. But hopefully not anytime soon. But I appreciate y'all listening to me.
So do we determine if this microphone works or not?
No.
Hit the podium.
Does it work better now? So first off, I was also freshman class president. If I was running against you, I think I would clearly have lost.
Close.
Stephanie, I had said to her recently, I was like, wow, I wonder what it was like to have been in Ryan's shadow and like be Ryan's little sister. So thank you for clarifying that in such an awesome way. Ryan's funny in that he used to, like, we'd have lunch together in high school, and the only AP course that I took, he took like 15. I took one, which was English. And I'd write my papers at lunch. And he'd go, dude, how can you do this at lunch? Are you kidding me? I can't do that. And I was like, whatever, just put the words on paper. You're crazy. Do you pass? I'm like, yeah, you get these right. He marveled because there were certain things, I think public speaking, they say, hey, dying in public speaking, Ryan hated public speaking. I hated it. Which is kind of ironic because he was always in the public's eye. But it's funny in that what I got here, which is 5 pages, is 37 years in the making. And let's just say it wasn't something you could do at the lunch table. So, I practiced this once, and I was unable to get through it without breaking up, so I'm trying to be strong here. Good work, Rothwell, for bringing a little levity to things. So anyway, I'm going to start with fall is here. Hear the yell. Back to school, ring the bell. Brand new shoes, walking blues, climb the fence, books and pens. I can tell that one day we're going to be friends. Yes, I can tell that we're going to be friends. Those are lyrics from a Jack Johnson song from the Curious George movie soundtrack that came across on the radio shortly after I found out Ryan had passed away unexpectedly. Ryan was a big Jack Johnson fan, and my wife and I had actually given that CD to Kavin after he was born. There are many coincidences and uncertainties in life, but I like to think that somehow he was trying to let me know that he was still around and that he appreciated my friendship. I hope the words that I deliver now will properly convey the impact that his friendship had on me, but more importantly, articulate just how impressive of a human being and individual he was. I'm still trying to process the fact that he's no longer with us. The Ryan that I knew was invincible. Scott, you want to say something real quick?
Hit the podium.
Ryan was my best friend since I was 10 years old. We shared in many of life's roller coasters of ups and downs for the past 37 years. Tried my best to try to craft a message that I hope he'd be proud of and remains true to his spirit. as an aside, I had to unfortunately give a speech at our friend Jason Foss's funeral a few years ago. And I'm saying this to kind of keep myself composed, but afterwards Ryan came up to me and shook my hand and said, "Nice speech, dude." Saw you cheer up a couple times. So, let's see if I can keep it to a couple times. I met Ryan in Marietta at Brumby Elementary School in 1984. He had a cool G.I. Joe collection, and he liked to talk about baseball, so we immediately became friends. This was the year after East Marietta had hit the national scene by winning the Little League World Series. He and I went through tryouts together and were drafted by the same team that year. That led to an almost 10-year run of playing competitive athletics together in baseball and basketball. More importantly, a lifetime of memories, relationships, and influencers. Ryan made me better simply by competing against him. Other than having a stronger breaking ball and being a better three-point shooter than him, he was horrible at three-point shots. There wasn't anything that he was not the best at. Period. Everything. I was lucky to just be playing alongside him. Sports was a huge part of our childhood growing up, with countless games of home run derby, pickup basketball games, and competitive tennis matches. Let's just say that Ryan was a natural John McEnroe on the court. For those of you that know John McEnroe and how he kind of loses his temper every once in a while. He wore his emotions on his sleeve, and that trait stayed with him pretty much his whole life. Sometimes it also got him into hot water. During one game in high school, I remember he had made some backhanded comment after a questionable call by the umpire, and coach made a big deal of it and pulled him aside after the game and asked him to apologize. And Ryan processed what the guy said to him, and he just looked at him and said, "Whatever, dude." He wasn't one to be muzzled. My folks and brother loved getting to know Ryan and welcomed him into the Cooper family. Ryan learned how to water ski on Lake Altoona on my dad's 40 horsepower motorboat. I think it took him 3 times to get up. It took me like 20. Fast forward 20 years and he's doing flips on his wakeboard on Lake Lanier, powered by one of his prized possessions, the General Lee. Fun times were had on those waters over the years, and I know he loved going out on the boat with Kavin and other close friends. We formed a core group of friends and spent as much time at each other's homes as our own, and we became family members. Our parents carpooled us to baseball and basketball games for years. One summer, we actually went on a Six Flags kick, and the Ritters even got me in on their family season pass. I don't know if you remember that. Considering I don't much resemble a Ritter physically, Mr. Ritter looked at me and said, as we were filling out the paperwork, "If they ask, you're a son from another marriage." I was proud to be a member of the Ritter family. I actually still have a laminated season pass that says Justin Ritter. For those that didn't know Ryan or his family growing up, I want to share this. Among other qualities, of course, Ryan got his intensity, his focus, his work ethic, and his commitment to excellence from his dad. I was recently reminiscing with Rob about Ryan growing up. He told some great stories about teaching Ryan how to handle bullies. Great story, but not appropriate for this setting. Incentivizing home runs for $5 a pop, and let's just say that he started hitting lots of home runs. And the repetition of practice that only a father and a son can actually know, because it's a job in itself. One year, our high school football coach actually asked Ryan to go play for the team because he was such a great athlete. Ritters weren't sure football was the best sport for his body, but Mr. Ritter and Ryan came up with a plan to be a place kicker. Ryan spent countless hours practicing kicks with his dad at Terminal Park, and he became pretty good. He didn't stick with the sport after that one season. Imagine Ryan as a kicker. It would actually be entertaining. But the point is, he could have pulled it off, and his dad was there with him, willing to help, and that's admirable in itself, so thank you. He recently shared with me that you were his best friend. I'm so thankful that the two of you further developed your bond over the years, and that you had those special memories recently together. He also got his fun-loving nature and his outgoing personality, his sensitivity from his mom, Pam. Saddened that she's not here, as Pam was a beacon of positive light on my own life over the years. She was a second mom to all of us growing up, even helping to get us out of some trouble at school, pretending to be George Hamrick's stepmom, and also chaperoning us on spring breaks. She was a fun lady. In Ryan's junior year at Georgia Tech, his mom asked him, "Honey, hit me a home run, hit me here too." He actually went out and hit 3 home runs that day. I was watching it on TV, and I just remember being like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?" 3, like insane. He probably slept like 2 hours the night before. In short, Ryan's parents brought very different but equally compelling influence to the development of him as a person, who would not have been who he was if it weren't for the two of them, and Stephanie, of course. Stephanie was Ryan's #1 fan and a sister I never had. I'm so thankful to have reconnected with you again, albeit under such sad circumstances. Those formative years were so influential in both of our lives. As he grew into a young man, as we grew into young men, we reveled in our times with friends, going out on double dates, attending concerts and sporting events, in between the challenges of school, athletics, and just growing up in general. We literally grew up together. We got in trouble together. We lived life together, and I consider myself very fortunate to have had him in my entourage and as a member of my family. To the entire group of friends from high school, Jason Lemus, Scott Johnson, Andrew Freeney, George Hamrick, John Edwards, thank you for your friendships and for being here today to support Ryan. I would also be remiss if I didn't mention our late friend Jason Foss, who was also very close to Ryan and grew up with the Ritter family in Powers Ferry Plantation as well. One time in high school, a bunch of us went camping. I brought a huge tent that stunk from my parents' house. It was starting to get dark, and everyone asked me to put the tent together. It was mine. I had no idea how to put the tent together. Ryan started pushing me. "Dude, it's your tent. Are you kidding me? You don't even have this thing together." And we started fighting, actually, in which we didn't do a whole lot. It was more just kind of fun banter. And he actually got me on the ground, pinned me down. I was trying to punch him in the head. And he just looked at me and he said, "Justin, please stop. I could destroy you." And I wisely relinquished. And yes, he would have destroyed me, but that moment said a lot to me about his sincerity of friendship and how much I meant to him. Our senior year in high school was one to remember. The Braves had just gone from worst to first that year, and it was such a fun time to be in Atlanta, particularly for baseball players like ourselves. I absolutely love the fact that the Braves are back in the World Series after last night's win. It was bittersweet to be celebrating with friends last night and Stephanie and reminiscing about Ryan when they won the game. The last text exchange that I had with him actually was about our shared excitement for the Braves in the playoffs. He'll be watching the World Series with us. Ryan's senior year in baseball was one to marvel at. Our team was nationally ranked at one point with an arsenal of amazing talent. I would like to say, too, as a Wheeler High School person, that Rockwell commented about 3 athletes. I want to put Mark Contestable in that list of people who should be listed as just a great athlete, so it's awesome to see him here. The season ended with a heartbreaking loss in the championship against our rival Walton. We played against those guys and with those guys our whole lives and our whole careers, and most of baseball careers were over for us at that point. But Ryan's was just taking off. He was drafted by the Cleveland Indians that year, which he declined to pursue and opted to go to college instead. I often wonder what would have happened if he had taken that path out of high school. You can't go back in time, but the amazing thing about that is how many people even have that opportunity. Ryan did. As an aside, he was no knucklehead athlete, too. The guy graduated in the top 20 of our class in high school, of around 450 people. So for those doing math, that's about top 5%. When we were looking at colleges, Ryan thought for sure I was going to go to Georgia Tech, considering my brother had gone there, and Ryan had just gotten a full scholarship. When I told him I was actually going to Clemson, It was like that moment in the movie Superbad when Evan tells Seth that he's going to go room with McLovin in college. Dude, you're going to consult George Hammer? You're going to go be best friends with Shane Monahan, too? Despite the distance, we remained close, and the fact that we went to different schools ended up only expanding both of our friend networks for the better. One time while visiting Ryan for a party at Tech, I started to get some heat about being there from some random group of brothers in the fraternity house. When Ryan got wind of what was going on, he barreled over and simply barked out at everyone, "This is my best friend Cooper. He can do whatever he wants here." Let's just say that the apologies came pouring in, and I actually quickly became a VIP. A friend of Ryan's was a friend of theirs. Everyone liked Ryan and wanted him to be in their sphere of influence. It's funny, Ryan's college friends and I used to laugh about the best friend term because Ryan would often throw it around frivolously. We'd all look at each other like, when he'd say, "That's my best friend. This guy's my best friend. He's my best friend." I thought I was my best friend. But that was just Ryan. He honestly meant it at the time he was saying it. And no one actually took it personally. Along those lines, a strong testament to the type of person that he is and was relates to the amount of people that I've personally met through him that remain genuine, unilateral friends to me. Ryan Banks and Brian Rockwell in particular. Would never have known either of you, and I'm grateful to call the two of you my friends. Thanks for all your support and friendship over these past few weeks and years as well. Ryan excelled socially and in baseball at Tech. He had played alongside some baseball greats there, Jason Veritek and Omar Garcia-Parra, to name a couple. I believe he still actually holds the record or is tied for the record for most sacrificed bunts in a season. He used to actually laugh about that. But what that showed was, while he wasn't used to playing second fiddle to most people, he could also execute on a task if needed. That statistic reflects that unique skill set. After his All-American career at Tech, he was drafted by the Brewers and had a real shot at achieving his dream. I had the pleasure of visiting him in Beloit his last season in 1996, and I watched a few games that year. I even went out with the team, and they let me tell everyone that I was on the team, just to help kind of socially and make people think I was cooler than maybe I was. But he welcomed me, the team welcomed me, and again, a friend of Ryan's was a friend of theirs. Although it only lasted 2 seasons, Ryan's professional baseball career is one that should not be taken lightly. It's amazing what you can find if you just look on like baseball stats. You can find all this stuff. So for those that actually know baseball and statistics in particular, I want to share these numbers. He played in 150 games played, 133 hits, 7 triples, 22 doubles, 16 home runs, 82 RBIs, 30 stolen bases, and a .251 batting average. Those are not the numbers of a subpar baseball player. Those are the numbers of someone who could hold their own against anyone. After baseball, Ryan went back to school and surprisingly to Athens, which is weird, to wrap up his degree at Tech. I knew he cherished those moments and those times with the extended friend group and embarked on the next chapter of his career. He had a variety of options coming out of school, and my older brother Dave actually did a full court press on him to try and get him to work for him as a recruiter out in Arizona. When Ryan chose to work for Arthur Anderson instead, it was as if Dave's #1 draft pick had slipped off the board. My brother still talks about how he wishes he had that opportunity to coach and to mentor Ryan in business. He always felt like a big brother to Ryan. Ryan immersed himself in business easily and excelled in sales. He eventually made his way to SolarCom and then broke off and helped to be a founder of Centrix IT. He had a solid run of high-performing years. It was not surprising to me to see his success, and I always appreciated the random opportunity where I could run into him in the airport or in some city, completely randomly. But it happened on 3 or 4 occasions, which was kind of cool while we were both traveling for work. I know we always sincerely valued Derek's leadership at Centrix and many of the relationships he had developed during that time in his life. Had the pleasure of being Ryan's best man at his wedding to Lindley. We had some fun years together as couples, and we all celebrated when Kavin Ray Ritter entered this world 15 years ago. In my best man speech, I spoke of the importance of family in today's day and age and how it's the foundation of everything we do. As I look around, I see a huge family of people that loved Ryan. The definition of family is certainly evolving, but family at its root is a group related by common characteristics and relationships. Ryan considered all of us as family. We were lucky to have had him consider us as family, to whatever extent that was. The world is lucky that Ryan's legacy lives on through his son, Kavin. Kavin, please know your dad loved you with all his heart. His friends and I are here. We're a text or a phone call away if you ever need anything or you just want a memory of your dad. Life is not always easy. It can be a roller coaster, like the mind bender at Six Flags, which he loved. That is what I've felt over the past 2 weeks, a real roller coaster of emotions. Ryan was usually the best at whatever he attempted to do. I'm proud to have called him my best friend. I'm also proud that so many others here have had that same relationship and feeling towards him as well. If there's one takeaway that I'd like for everyone in here to have, it's let's all try to be the best friend that we can be to anyone that we're fortunate enough to call a friend. Ryan went all out for everything he did. It's the least we can do to honor him. In closing, I wanted to share what a friend of mine from Clemson texted me when he found out the news about Ryan. He said, "Oh God, I'm so sorry. I can't imagine how painful this must be. An amazing friend to you. I still wear a Georgia Tech baseball shirt that he gave me 20 years ago. It has 1,000 holes in it, but I love it." I thought that was very symbolic of Ryan and a sincere example of the genuine impression he made on others and how uniquely special and talented he was, even through the wear and tear of this life on earth. Rest in peace, my friend. Hope to see you again in the next life. My son now is going to play a song. So thank you again for being here.
I played this song for Ryan about 3 or 4 years ago. I was not very good. I taught myself how to play, but he made me feel like a rock star. So I think I speak for everyone in this room that Ryan, I really wish you were here. Hot air for a cool breeze, cold comfort.
I believe that concludes the service.
I think there was one or two other people that wanted to talk.
By all means.
We're some members from this small group. About 2 years ago, Ryan joined a small group, and hearing you guys talk about it today, it's really cool to see. Just he toned his personality around quite a bit. He was really out of time, and he was sometimes say, "I shouldn't say that." My mouth's getting in trouble. But then he might say it later. But he really, when he joined a small group, I was kind of the point person for the small group at the time. And he always wanted to, we alternate between books and studying the Bible and stuff. And he would always say, well, you know, I really want to spend more time on the Bible because he wanted to know more about Christ. He wanted to know a lot more about Paul. And he found out, you know, Paul's story of how he was someone who actually chased down and murdered and killed Christians to become the person who was put the biggest stamp on the New Testament with his letters. And but every time we asked him to do something, he'd always say, "Can I bring Kavin?" And we went to a Good Friday service together, and Kavin was there. And then in 2019, the Braves did this thing where they let people do home run derby who were ticket members. I've seen the tickets, and I said, I don't want to go out there and hit. I go, Ryan, do you want to go out and hit? He said, yes. He put on his, does he have a custom-made Braves jersey? So he wore his custom-made Braves jersey, and I mean, he was so excited to do this, but guess who else was out there shagging balls in the outfield? Yeah. And it's really cool to see you up here because you look like a politician. You've got the gestures, you got the whole thing going. And, but, you know, we really enjoyed Ryan and these guys here have other things to say about having him in the group. It's really cool. One of our other guys from the small group is here as well that we had in a group from years ago. And he said, I was having a conversation with Ryan, and he said, I got to go to a small group. He never put the two together. And Michael was actually in a group right before Ryan went over there. And so. Yeah, as he said, we got to know him only a few years. It was amazing just spending time with him because he came from a different perspective and he had just, he would always, anytime we would need some type of levity, he would usually make a joke. And most of the time they were pretty inappropriate, but he was at the perfect moment, and that was important. And it's just, I think a big thing is whenever we have this group, and we've been doing it for so many years, anytime somebody comes, it's for a reason. And obviously, like he came and was like, I have enough to know about Christ. And it's something that everyone comes there for purposes, but it's something that you can see that at the current moment in his life he was really pursuing.
one of the reasons why I wanted to get up and say something is I'm probably the newest person to Ryan's group. Just met him this year in a small group, and hearing all the stories makes me wish I knew him longer. And I share that with you all because the key core piece where his dad said about Christ was one of those things that I immediately identified with Ryan. And I say that because relationships are so important to the point of, I wish I would have known him as long as a lot of you all have. That we have the time on this earth. It's something that Ryan, he mentioned, we had talked about a couple things. We have time on this earth now to do the thing that Ryan did, the impact that Ryan made. Do it, right? Take that advantage. We're in a small group, we do that, but don't let the day pass. COVID and all the stuff, politics and everything in life tends to separate us and cause us to draw so far apart, and yet unfortunate circumstances like this brings us back together. Remember the thing that's really important. It's something that Ryan always said, family and God. And so I wanted to just kind of reiterate that because it's something that I found in him, and I'm like, man, if I would have, I want to know that guy too. But we have that opportunity with each one that is here today to not, I wish I would have, but I can and do. So something that me and Ryan have chatted about some things, but yeah, just wanted to encourage that from our small group and the time that I shared with him. He loved everybody that he knew. So hope we all do the same as well.
We have drinks and snacks. Refreshments over. You go left out the doors over there. Help yourself.
Thanks again, everyone.